What's up, guys? I just cracked this Israel's Inheritance pack. I also recorded a video, but I pulled a Tyler and didn't have the audio working. So yeah. Um, anyway, I have a new overhead camera set up using my iPhone, and I wanted to test it out. I was having some trouble the other day when I tried to get the game in for the Zoom Discord tournament with Tim. So I finally got that resolved. There was an issue between OBS and Discord, but I've got my phone set up and I just wanted to test this new thing. And I thought um, I would try making a video to showcase it too, and see how well it works. But anyway, I had an idea. I had some Israel's Inheritance packs hanging out that were sealed, so I cracked one open. On the aforementioned video without audio. So I'm just redoing it. And I had an idea. I've got a new buddy that is new to the game. So he lives a couple of hours away. And he's very interested in the game, asking questions and things. And I just thought I would make a quick little thing of opening a pack and kind of analyzing it from the perspective of booster draft. So, booster draft is one of the limited categories. So, it's not constructed. You build your deck to play within the format itself. Unlike sealed deck or closed deck, where you get a starter deck and then you're just adding things from a couple of packs that you open alongside it involved with trading. Booster draft, you start with a stack of packs. Everyone takes a card and passes it around until you've drafted every card out of the first pack. Then you go to the second pack, so forth, so on, rotating the ways that you pass. And you end up with some cards that you then have a pool to build your deck. So I sent this picture of this pack to my buddy Eric, and I just figured I would show kind of my thoughts on it from the perspective of booster draft. So the first thing, unless you're a newer player and you're looking for potentially more rare cards, first thing you do is you lay them all out. Well, I mean, you don't lay them out, but you look at them all, regardless of the set, because Roots kind of introduces a little bit more cohesion, so you can build. You don't have as much of a random spread that you can get. So I'm gonna lay these out, and obviously you wouldn't do that in booster draft. You would just look through them, and you start analyzing, kind of, especially if this is like the first pack. You want to look at a couple things. First of all, you need to know what sets you're going to be drafting. So if you're drafting a bunch of IR, you got to know what was offered in that. There's a lot of clay, there's a lot of brown, and there's white, and you get some blue stuff. But if you're drafting potentially like GOC, there's going to be a lot of clay stuff that you can use. And if you're doing IR and clay, then clay. I'm sorry. If you're doing IR and GOC, then clay jumps up. If you were doing, for example, this has got some gold, and gold is in Israel's Inheritance. That's the type of pack that we opened. You also would know if you were doing a booster draft with LOC as well. There's gold in LOC. GOC also has gold, so you can determine which. You can kind of, I guess, use just the idea of what is available in those packs to kind of know which brigade you might want to get in early. One thing I know about this pack, looking at it, is that there's only one hero. Okay, and you cannot win the game without heroes. Obviously, you need evil characters to also block. So characters are important overall. But if I were to look at this and say, what is the best card in this pack? To me, it's going to be this hero right here. Because if everybody else is looking at a pack that only has one hero, now that's not going to be the case most of the time, but if it were, and they took the hero, and then you passed this one, you could go this first round of packs without a hero. You want to get heroes. You want to get into a brigade. This one also has maybe into a New Testament hero. So if GOC is what you're potentially what you're drafting as well, then this is going to have a lot of targets for banding. You also are going to get some out of the root stuff, but roots is a bigger spread that it's easier to, or it's harder to nail down. It's easier to say, oh well, Like Israel's Inheritance, I know which brigades I'm going to see in that, where you could see a widespread in roots. So just kind of, use that information to your advantage. But here, I'm going to go with this as the top card out of this pack. So if we were to rank all of these cards in order, so say that wasn't available, this pack had been passed to me in this state, what would be my next thing? And we're doing this it's kind of incomplete information because we don't have any context of this is what I've drafted so far. So it's just, I'll give you some of my thoughts. Now, I'm no Booster Jones. I have not done super great at booster at high level tournaments, but I do okay. I guess I'm adequate. So this is just thoughts from an adequate mind. But the next thing that I would look at is I without having context of what kind of brigade I'm in or defense or anything, I'm really thinking about characters at this point, unless there is an ability on a card that is just so impactful that you take it and kind of force yourself to look for a character to play it or something like that. None of these are that for me. These can be good. Fruit of the Land letting you dig through 7 cards to find a good one. Battle Cry, Interrupt, Draw 1, Play. Just the interrupt and play can be good at times. It's also 7 if you get into a tossing situation, if somebody drafts like a Herod's Temple or some other ability that sets up a tossing scenario. Stone of Thebes, regardless of protect, discard a character. Good ability, but again, requires character that we don't yet have. And then this blue is you may underdeck an evil card, which can be impactful, and then or 3 evil cards if used by Job. But since this one to maximize by Job, I'm really only looking at you may underdeck an evil card and then judging it off of that. And the bonus, just like this one, interrupt the battle, you may draw 1 or 3 if used by Joshua Hero. As a baseline, I'm looking at the interrupt the battle, draw 1, play, the extra benefit. I'm not going to rate this higher because of the potential to do the better thing, because then it requires you matching a specific type of character, not just one that matches the brigade. So if I saw something like Death of Unrighteous, okay, that's one where I would potentially take the enhancement because of how impactful it can be, even though I don't have a character yet to play it on. And I would just then have my eye out looking for a character I could get to play it, to force a way to play it, because of 2 things. I would love to play it and have impact in the game for my own benefit, but I also don't want to pass it to someone else that's going to potentially play it against me in a situation. So you kind of protect yourself that way. But, I mean, a card like that is just super impactful. Something like, I don't know one off the top of my head. I was going to try to come up with another one that's just crazy out there as far as that goes. Something like, I like Testing Solomon if you get into purple from root stuff. And then you have the potential purple warriors in IR. You have disciples in GOC. If you can get something like Testing Solomon, I think that's good because it targets something in play and then hits their hand. So it's just things like that. But I would look at the characters next here. 12-Finger Giant, I really like him. Philistines are my favorite defensive theme, but I like this because it's negate, band, and toss. He's got 12 toughness, so you're going to come in, negate, band, and toss, and he cannot be negated. So if they've got a band, they've chained together a decent band, you can come in with him and potentially be against one person, depending on if it's CBI or CBN banding. And then he's CBN, so you don't have to worry about them negating it and bringing them back. You have King Abimelech. You may give an evil Canaanite from reserve to opponent's territory to discard an artifact or a fortress. May ban to your Canaanite. Okay, so now I notice that this is already a limitation because it can only ban to my Canaanite. And then to fuel it up, you have to give an evil Canaanite from your reserve to opponent's territory, which they can then use to block. Then it's going to be in a popular brigade here. To discard an artifact or fortress. Artifacts and fortresses can be impactful in booster draft, but they're not as impactful as they are in constructed play. So this is pretty low for me. It is in a brigade that can be popular with some of the packs that you could be drafting from, but I'm going to slide that one over because I'm not a big fan of it. This one right here, this is the Sons of Ariel. It's a Moabite. You know what Moabite's gimmick is, or whatever, as some people refer to it. If you control another Moabite, you may top deck up to 2 OT Lost Souls. So if you were to draft this, you would be making sure you have OT souls. You may ban to a Moabite warrior regardless of protect abilities. Regardless of protect abilities is important. If you control another Moabite, though, so you have to have another Moabite, then he can ban to a Moabite warrior. Now that's any that's in play, so that's good, but it has to be a Moabite and a warrior. I like the ability for you to just come out, boom, if you've met the conditions, and, top deck up to 2 OT souls. The issue for me with this card is that he's 11-9, so you're going to come in, even if you do this, you're going to be sitting in battle, more than likely giving up initiative to a low number hero. Like, there's some bans that potentially you're not going to get a chance to, usually with this card, to come in, I'm going to do my thing with the souls and then die, right? Because you don't have to worry about as much dominant interaction, as you do in constructed play. So the ability is great if it triggers and then he just dies, but you don't have a way to ensure that that's going to happen, especially with these high numbers. So I'm not a big fan of this one. Again, you're analyzing the abilities, but also the brigade. So if you know you want to get into Gray Brigade, then you potentially take that, just based on the context of what else you might have already drafted. But in this case, where we don't have the context of that, this right here is probably the next card I would take. And the reason is, if blocking, you may capture an evil human to a player. It's not great because it doesn't directly impact the battle that you're in now, because you're capturing an evil human to a player. But on this block, you can take an evil character in their territory, so one less evil character they have the opportunities to block your next rescue with, and you can use it to generate a soul or a target to rescue by capturing it to a player, so you can capture it to them. Then he's 3/3, so low numbers. You're going to get a chance to potentially play an enhancement, or come in, do that, die, you give up a soul. But if you're just needing to generate a soul so that you have a target to rescue for maybe your 5th soul on your next turn, that works. 3/3. And then in orange, which is in GOC and in Roots, crimson, which is in GOC, it's also in II. Then you have black, that is in, obviously all these are in Roots, but black that's in GOC, it's in II with the Canaanite stuff. So depending on the pack spread, you're going to have options to play on that. So I would probably lean towards this as my second. It depends. I could see a case for either one here, just depending on whether you think the negate band is going to be impactful enough. But I would probably lean this way, because, say, for example, you do that. Well, with his numbers, you might not get the chance to play an enhancement like this if you had it. But instead of this character, with 612 as the numbers, if you had Self 3/3, you could come in, do your shenanigans, potentially, then get a chance to play the enhancement that you would have. So it's just a lot of things to consider, but I would probably go with the safety net of having the brigades, the low numbers, and an ability that can potentially put a rescue target in play for you, and take out something that they can use to block you with. So I would go there. This would be probably my third choice in this pack. And then I think at that point, obviously I said characters are important, but I think I would probably lean to Stone of Thebes being a regardless of protect, discard a hero, or discard a character. So it's a broad target. Generally, you're going to be discarding a hero, but regardless of protect abilities, that can be very important. Um, then these other ones, I mean, these characters, to me, these characters are just dudes in the brigades. 9-7 numbers, 11-9 numbers, not great. So it depends on if you have anything that you can use this on. Look at the top 7 cards of deck, take up to 1 good card. If used by a Joshua hero, you may reserve this card. So again, I'm only going to be analyzing the look at 7, take up to 1 territory class. So this can prepare you for battle. It's also got 7 toughness, which can come into play in booster draft. Battle cry, interrupt the battle. You may draw 1, or if used, or 3 if used by Joshua hero. I'm not counting that. So this is an interrupt. Draw 1, play an enhancement, because I want to just look at the baseline value of what it gives me if I just have a character in the brigade and not a specific character triggering the added benefit of the card. So, of these, which one? This can impact the battle, but it depends on what you find in the 7 cards. This one is 7-0, interrupt the battle. You can draw 1, so I'm not really that concerned about the draw, but then you get to play an enhancement. So it's good because it interrupts the battle. It's got 7 on the numbers if you get into a toss situation, and you can play an enhancement, but it requires you to have another enhancement. So not great on its own. So these are going to be definitely drafted with the context of what you have gotten before. And blue is definitely probably the weakest of the offensive brigades that we see here, being gold and then the clay there, because you get stuff in roots and then you get stuff in IR, but IR was not super great for the blue stuff. Now they are better in booster draft than they are in constructed play, and it just depends on how you can line that up. So you may underdeck an evil card as a baseline, so that's what that does. I think most of the time I'm going to lean towards maybe needing another body, unless one of these is just so good that I want to jump taking a character early on for. But I would probably say if you think you're going to see gold, I would take Battle Cry. Then I would take both of these characters. I would rank them probably. I would just say they're even, and then Fruit of the Land, and I would put Endurance of Job last. So this is the order that I would rank these cards. You've got Claudia, you've got Self, 12-Finger Giant, Stone of Thebes, Battle Cry, these 2 characters, and then Fruit of the Land, Endurance of Job. So out of this one random pack, that's the order that I would value these in booster draft. And again, all of this comes down to the context of what you've already drafted, what sets you're drafting from, and then also how impactful each of these cards can be on their own. You know, like I mentioned, Battle Cry is good because it interrupts the battle, but it requires you to play an enhancement with it. So in Special Initiative, if this is the only thing you have to play, you lost. So when you think about it, but then something like, Death of Unrighteous, for example, I mentioned that before, that if you get that and you can get just a low number character and then play that, that's a straight impactful card. It doesn't rely on anything else except for a character to play it and be able to get initiative. These things, like this card, for example, is better in the context of having a lower character, because it doesn't interrupt the battle, and you can't play it in Special Initiative. It's what my buddy Jake calls a slower enhancement, because it doesn't stop Special Initiative. You have to have regular initiative to play it. So this is impactful more so with these type of characters than these type of characters, and just looking at that kind of stuff and figuring out how you can build through each round of packs, and then you layer that on by however many packs you're boosting, and that's how you end up with your pool of cards to draft from. So that is that pack. And I sent that to Eric, so now you can watch this video and see my thoughts on it. I sent him the raw picture of the cards in the pack and just ask him which order he would do, and now I'll send him this video link so that he can see my thoughts. But hopefully this looks good with the overhead camera, and maybe somebody got some value out of this. Peace.